Hey guys, it's Brianna Battles, and today I'm going to go over a very simple topic that sometimes we really overcomplicate, but then at the very same time is something we have to have a lot of awareness around, especially as pregnant and postpartum athletes. So, how do I breathe? This is important because your breath is the main contributor to your core and pelvic health function. What are your tendencies, and what can you do during pregnancy and postpartum with something as simple as breathing that will hopefully set up your process and not really set you back? And again, this all comes from a place of just greater levels of awareness, not like trying to perfect anything, because none of us can do all the things and have all the awareness all the time. But again, just creating a general level of understanding of your basic physiology and then how pregnancy and postpartum and your own tendencies affect your system. So, first of all, our core is made up of our diaphragm, our pelvic floor, and our abdominal muscles. Okay, so super simple. The diaphragm hangs out behind the rib cage here, and on inhale, when we take a breath in, we should be trying to breathe into our rib cage, and the diaphragm travels down. In order for that to happen, the pelvic floor and the abdominal wall have to give and relax a little bit. Okay, so again, on inhale, we breathe in here. Belly lets go, pelvic floor relaxes. And if you don't feel that, just think about don't suck in my stomach. Okay, now don't suck in my stomach even more. Because sometimes it's really hard to let go, and we're just trained to constantly be really high and uptight and sucked in. So, okay, you're gonna breathe into your rib cage. Inhale here, belly relaxes. You should feel your pelvic floor just kind of give a little bit, okay? And then on exhale, the pelvic floor recoils in response to the diaphragm traveling back up. So what that looks like, inhale, diaphragm travels down, pelvic floor expands. And on exhale, the pelvic floor recoils in response to this diaphragm traveling right back up. The abs do the same thing. They give on inhale and they slightly contract on exhale. Now this is something that occurs automatically. This is not anything crazy or revolutionary. This is literally your human physiology. But what makes this breathing specific to pregnancy and postpartum is something we call exhaling prior to the exertion. And then honestly, just creating awareness around what your tendencies are and creating awareness around what you like to do with, or what you tend to do during pregnancy with your breath and your positioning. So if you can think about a squat, for example, you would want to back up. I'm not going to be able to back up too much here, but on a squat, maybe you'd want to inhale down and then this is the pelvic floor here. So the pelvic floor has to give, right? It has to expand, even just going into this squat-like position. And then before you start your ascent up, you would exhale, and the pelvic floor recoils in response to that. So again, it would be an inhale, belly gives, and then exhale, that pelvic floor recoils, and then we stand up. So what that recoil does, that exhale prior to the exertion, also termed blow before you go by Julie Wiebe, that creates a little bit more stability of the system. That exhale acts as our muscles contracting. It's a small contraction. It's not like okay, exhale and pull up my pelvic floor and grip my abs as tight as possible, a 10 out of 10 contraction. It's talking like a 2 out of 10 contraction, a general awareness of what is my body doing versus I'm gonna hold my breath for everything. I'm doing a bodyweight squat and right? And that's something a lot of us do because we've been just sort of trained to hold our breath for everything, and it translates down the line to a lot of our different daily tasks and exercise tasks. So again, creating awareness and letting your belly and pelvic floor, everything go through a full range of motion has a lot of benefits. If we think about the system being like our bicep, on inhale, everything lengthens. It has to make room so that we get a full range of motion here. And on exhale, everything recoils and that contraction occurs. If we're constantly gripping and holding this contraction, it's going to have effects on our system and how well it functions. So if we think about pregnancy alone, if we are fighting our normal physiology of what's supposed to happen with growing a baby by being sucked in and holding and gripping, that pressure is not very balanced, right? A balanced pressure is a core and pelvic floor that can go through a full range of motion consistently in response to that diaphragm. That inhale, everything relaxes, and on exhale, contracts. Again, this doesn't have to be a like bearing down and contracting. You want to feel where that pressure is going. Is your tendency to exhale and press down, or is your tendency to like inhale and then press out into your abdominal wall? These are things we really have to be aware of. And again, the goal is to, when you inhale, everything is able to give and relax a little bit. And then exhale, we're bringing the air and pressure away from our pelvic floor, away from our linea alba here, that line to the six-pack abs, and out. Okay, like truly getting a good breath. And then putting that into exercise. So for some of you, that might be simply just trying to retrain your brain to exhale through the full range of motion. So if it's a squat, you would inhale, you would inhale up here into your rib cage instead of like, right, this really chesty breath that a lot of us tend to do, myself included. Trying to inhale under the rib cage and then exhale through that full range of motion. Obviously I didn't do a full squat, but I'm trying to make it so you can still see me. Okay, so if exhaling through gives you that supportive feeling here in your abdominal wall and your pelvic floor, then do that. That might be an appropriate strategy for you. Again, with a gentle contraction, not like a, and I'm like really gripping, holding my abs, holding my pelvic floor, and then squatting. We don't want to be overdoing it like that. Or depending on how you feel in your athleticism, how your symptoms are, your function, maybe doing an inhale down. Again, my belly isn't holding, my pelvic floor is able to get in a position where it's lengthened. And then an exhale, prior to me coming up out of that squat, I can feel a slight, gentle contraction of my abdominal wall, and my pelvic floor should be supported from the bottom. So that exhale, it's like a slight contraction here, and then I come up. And you should be able to feel, if you put your hands on your stomach, that inhale, okay, everything gives, and that exhale, I should feel my abs sort of travel in toward the center, and it should be supported with my pelvic floor too. If I'm in a position where I'm always out here, that's going to affect the trajectory of my diaphragm. So can we pay a little bit more attention to where our body weight is distributed, keeping our body weight as midfoot as possible, and in our lifting, not going into positions that are like way out here or really squeezing and clenching. That's not the point of getting a solid breath and movement strategy through pregnancy and postpartum. The goal is to move well, maintain pretty good form, and also create a lot more awareness around what your breathing strategy currently is and what you can do during pregnancy and postpartum to facilitate a quality function of your core and pelvic health. Again, this is something that our body does anyway, but our habits and our tendencies sometimes prevent it from doing its job to its fullest ability. Okay, if we're always holding here, or we don't really know how to go through that exertion, and then pregnancy and the implications of that and recovering postpartum, we just get into different habits. So again, awareness is everything. We don't have to have a full out, like, it doesn't have to be this like, okay, inhale, exhale, everything is like being held in, and now I'm gonna press overhead. Or now everything is gripping and holding, now I'm gonna do my squat, or now I'm gonna do my deadlift. It should honestly just be like on a general level of awareness of a good breath, an exhale, and then you lift, where it's a gentle hold here and support from below, again, with the goal of being balanced pressure and tension, and not pressure going out, pressure going down, or pressure going back into the spine. So I hope this helps clarify a few of the questions that, or questions and sentiments I get around breathing. For more information, there is a ton of different sources that I will link, and I absolutely suggest playing around with your breathing strategies and getting as much information about something as simple as breath as possible when you are in these chapters.